we go. And I let that one load up. If you see, I waited to set the hook on that one. Here we go, guys. Bam! Guys, what is up? Travis here with Lucky Tackle Box, and it is springtime. Spring is in the air, and so should Buzzbaits. You should be hearing the sound, the woo of Buzzbaits flying. And yes, this is an excellent springtime bait, and we're about to break down why in just a second. But first, let's break down the features of a buzzbait. Leo, you stoked? You stoked? We're about to catch some buzzbait fish, aren't we? Okay guys, the modifications I make to this bait is first I'll add a little trailer. This is a little swim bait trailer here from Biwa, and I usually want to use a size that's common in the lake that I'm fishing, okay? Now the reason I put a trailer back here is so when these fish come up and they hear this bait, they see it, this is what they hone in on, is the chunky, the juicy part of this bait, and that's where they're gonna strike. Then next, I add a trailer hook in here, all right? Because a lot of times they'll go for just the tail, they won't hit this bait fully, and they'll get that trailer hook, you'll get a lot of fish. You'll see today, I know I'm gonna get some fish using that trailer hook. Very important, you can pick this up at your local tackle shop, tackle warehouse, pretty much anywhere will carry trailer hooks for your spinner baits and buzz baits. All right, so retrieval guys, there's a couple features. First, I wanna keep that bait on the surface. Oh, there we go. And if you keep that bait on the surface, you are gonna attract those fish. You're gonna make that noise. Now we're gonna talk about the different noises you can make here. But look at that, there is proof, right on cue. Leo, man, that makes us look like we know what we're talking about, doesn't it, Leo? But anyway, guys, so here's what's going on. There's a couple features to this blade, but we wanna reel it fast enough that this blade is turning, and there's times that as you hook fish and you stick a bunch of fish, this is gonna get bent out a little bit and stuff. So you wanna make sure that this blade, or the head of the bait and everything are all running in line. As it loops around, it has to be in line like this. Now there's times you can squeeze this down a little bit more and you can reel it faster. It's also gonna clank on that arm. But also, if you pop it away a little bit, you can slow down the retrieve a little bit as well. So there's different features you can do, different little tweaks you can do to this bait to make it run differently. But also when you get bites, make sure you keep checking it and it's exactly how you want it, because this will bend and will kind of get out of whack and you've got to realign it and stuff. Okay, so like I was saying, I want to reel this just fast enough to keep this bait on the surface, okay? If I reel too slow, it's going to go underneath. This time of the year, you could reel it faster, but this time of the year, I like to keep a real slow retrieve. These fish, they need a little bit of a reason to hit this. They need enough time to hear it and then kind of get mad at it. So what I do is I just reel slow enough, and I like to keep my rod tip up so I can come over any kind of cover and structure. There's times when you're reeling faster later in the year, you can put your rod tip down like this. But this time of the year, because I'm reeling so slow, I keep my rod tip up so it's constantly pulling up on the rod. Now watch the hook set I do too. I'm gonna let this fish load up because I'm not really in the hook set position right here. So when that fish hits it, there we go. I give it a second, okay? So I let that fish grab it and then turn on it. That's really important because that's gonna allow, basically that fish is almost gonna hook himself. Look at this. Now you guys wanna see a reason to get a trailer hook? There you go, okay? That fish, it honed in on that little swimming tail right there, and I turned on it. If I didn't have that trailer hook, look at you guys, I'm hooked on the trailer hook right there. If I did not have that trailer hook, I would not have a fish. I'd be sitting here going, oh, I almost had one. I almost had one. And we're not looking to have almost stories today. We're looking to actually have fish stories. So, nice little bass. And that's a buzzbait springtime bass. Tell me you guys aren't excited about going throwing a buzzbait right now. All right guys, we're talking about the line. I keep it pretty simple. When I'm fishing a clear water like I am today, I'll use a fluorocarbon, 20-pound Tatsu Seaguar fluorocarbon. And a lot of you guys go, Travis, fluorocarbon sinks, you gotta use mono. Guys, when I'm throwing a buzzbait, it really doesn't matter. I have my rod tip up. There is no line actually in the water. And I like the strength of the Tatsu. It's really a line that I trust. And then most of the time, actually, I'm using braided line. So I'll use a Seaguar Smackdown braid, anywhere from 30-pound all the way up to 60, 70-pound braid if I'm fishing that real nasty stuff, or if I'm making casts way back in gnarly things that I'm not gonna be able to get back there if I snag, and I really need to yank that stuff out of there. Okay, when figuring out where to throw this bait this time of the year, you've got to understand what the bass are doing. Now, it's spawning time, right? They're going up laying their eggs. So when I know the buzzbait's gonna be on, the telltale sign is when I start seeing fry. Fry are little baby bass that have hatched. Those tiny, tiny little thing that sometimes just look like a little cloud, and when you look closer, it's actually a little baby bass. Now when you see these, that means there's gonna be bluegill, that means there's gonna be other little fish, other little bass and things coming up and feeding on those. So the buzzbait's made to mimic little bait fish, little fry, because that little sputtering sound sounds like little bait fish jumping and fleeing. And then by having a little bulge, that little tail and everything, that looks like some kind of bait chasing the fry or the other little bait fish. And that's what's gonna trigger these strikes right now. So there's bass that are guarding the fry, but then after the spawn, there's actually bluegill. A lot of these panfish come up to spawn as well, and that's when these bass are gonna come up and feed on those. So there's a lot of fish orienting themselves in shallow water, you know, at the end of the spawn and then into the beginning of summer, and this is going to be a great time to catch these buzzbait fish. And when you have good structure, you wanna make a few casts at it. These fish aren't overactive. You know, that post-spawn can be a very difficult time for people. That can be a slow time for the bite for a majority of anglers. So you gotta know when you are up on a spot that you think there should be a fish, don't be afraid to make multiple casts at that spot. Because a lot of times you may just end up aggravating them. You may just have to come at the right angle because they are only feeding at a certain spot, and you've got to get that certain spot to trigger that strike. And that's what's great about a buzzbait is you can cover a lot of water. We're moving down this bank, making lots of casts, but then once we hit a real nice area, we're gonna make several casts. So right now, as we turn around this corner, I've got 2 trees. Actually, I've got about 3 trees that are laid down in the water. These are gonna be perfect targets. Well, there we go. Oh man, I heard a nice splash right there. That feels like a good fish. That one I didn't even see the bite, just felt and whack it and then saw the big splash after the fact. Man, this fish is hot. So once again, guys, there was not, and I got on the trailer hook there. So once again, another reason to have that trailer hook. But I don't see any brush. I don't see really any cover in there, or anything. But that's what's great about this buzzbait is I can keep making a lot of casts and have a chance of picking up those fish that I didn't know that there was any cover right there. There we go. There we go. Are you on? There we go. Hoo, 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 hoo. This fish is hot. Look at that, guys. And once you figure out what these fish are doing, you can start upgrading, figuring out where these guys are. The best thing you can do when bass fishing is figure out a bite. I now know, I've figured out now in a couple minutes here that these fish are up shallow. They're on every one of these little pieces of structure. So I burn the bank real quick, but I'm still making casts because there's little random stick-ups, there's little brush piles that I can't see that I want to make sure that I have a chance of hitting. But then once I get to those big ones that I can really see in the water, I'm gonna make multiple casts across, move that bait real slow, and I'm gonna get some nice looking little bass, man. This is a nicer fish for this lake. Nothing wrong with that. Okay guys, another thing they talk about when throwing a buzzbait is low light conditions. And low light conditions can, the easiest definition is, early in the morning, late in the evening before that sun's really come up. But another great time is when there's ripple on the water. If you look right in front of me, we've got nice little ripple coming on this little point right here. And that reflects light, that kind of breaks up the light and stuff like that, and the bass love it. They don't get as good a look at the bait, but they feel more comfortable in these conditions, and that's when they're gonna be out and aggressively feeding. So this is a perfect time. You see a little point like this with a little bit of ripple. We got a little bit of an overcast day and everything. This is beautiful time to throw this bait. There we go. Oh! And on cue, that fish wanted to be on YouTube. I think I might have messed up. Remember, we want to let that bait load up. Okay, so if he hits that, we've got to give it a sec to load up. There we go. Guys, dude, are you kidding me? If you don't think you can catch bass in the springtime with the buzzbait, you are crazy. I've absolutely smacked them today. And there is a lot of anglers right now watching this video go, I don't know if they work in the spring. They work in the spring. They're chasing fry, they're chasing little bluegill that are coming up to lay their nests. There's a lot of reasons that this buzzbait is gonna turn these fish on because there's so many things that it mimics. And guys, For you that just received the BD series BD Buzz in your Lucky Tackle box, get out there and throw it. This bait can create some great action for you under the right conditions, as long as you now know why you're doing it, what you're trying to mimic, where you're trying to throw that. I'm Travis Moran with Lucky Tackle Box. If you enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up button below. Make sure you comment in the comment section as well, because I make sure to go through those and respond to as many as I absolutely can. You guys, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one. Bing a bang a boom.